We do, I
Yeah.
think, and I think we definitely now have a quorum.
Yeah. Morning.
Good morning.
Hi there.
Morning.
Hi there. And I'm expecting Emma, I think,
So I'll admit this person.
and
Where's Tom?
I think,
I don't know.
I haven't heard from it. The only person I haven't heard from was Elizabeth, who couldn't come.
Okay, we are recording and we have one visitor. Hello, Mr. Dumas, can you hear me? That on, just in case he has a.
So we're supposed to do a roll call.
This is the only committee I've been on it.
I don't think we need to do that. We can see that there are people here. So right now, Tom is missing, Emma and Elizabeth. So I'm expecting them to some of them to show up. Wait, did everyone get the minutes? I sent them afterwards.
Yep.
So, any comments, corrections? Can I get a vote on
So moved.
second? Third, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I'm doing it.
I had asked Alan and I was actually mistaken that I thought Kristen wasn't going to be here, so I asked Alan about the timeline and what I thought we might do today is to spend a little time. They put together a format for it, and I guess what I'd like to do is have a discussion about when and where pieces of that should be put in. It would be better to have the group participate in that than just having Alan and Kristen trying to do that themselves. So I would suggest that not much can go on until we have this legal piece at least underway. So, I mean, I think that's the first piece of business on the timeline. We can talk about that a little later. Here's Emma.
Right.
Just so you know, we are recording.
Okay.
So I don't know, Alan, do you want to?
Well, easy peasy, we just have to push things down on a chart that's going to the,
Well, you have some categories, right?
yeah, well, legal is the most important and the biggest.
Yeah, so that's first.
Yeah.
But once that is, so I have no idea how long that will take. Maybe Chuck can shed some light on to how long he thinks it'll take.
What,
Legal,
after the meeting we had this week,
okay,
that essentially, I don't know if Jeff, you agree, but I think we need to.
yeah,
We're asking for outside experts,
yeah,
and so we see the city attorney is built to We're looking into that. We're having a meeting this coming week. That we couldn't schedule before then and see what he has to say. I'll tell you then. Not now.
Okay. And then also I had a conversation with Linnea. And she is coming to the meeting on Wednesday. I had asked her that we need somebody with a fiduciary purview of Strawberry Bank to be part of this. So she is looking at her board and trying to understand who that might be, if not her. So, but she said she is coming this week. We have a meeting on Wednesday at 2 o'clock for the legal group.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I can give you an update on the NAM acting as the fiscal agent as well. So the board has voted in favor of doing that. And so we're prepared to
Great,
be able to do that.
that's good. That is it is a help because what we need is to raise some money to do the legal. And we need the legal to raise money. So. That's good. So I think that looking at funding sources is another piece that should come up earlier rather than later. And then also the work on I've lost the words for it now, the analysis of all the collections as part of that. And it was suggested that Kelly Barnaby, our city clerk, come and talk to us because she is probably the person most familiar with what we have to collect. There's also the police, fire, school, public works. But in terms of someone who has a handle on most of it, at least for one perspective, she would be good to come talk to us at some meeting in the future. But before we start looking at grants to do this. So give me some more subject matters there. If you had some on your spreadsheet.
You know, we have just general operations, documentation, fundraising, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
You had outreach on there too, didn't you? Yes.
So I think coming after legal, I think fundraising and outreach are important. I think we need to get general support as well as financial support.
Right, because we're not gonna move the legal forward without financial support.
Right. And I think we need the general support for that. And so that's probably comes after legal, I think. And then there's some of the work that Emma did. Thank you for that spreadsheet. I was just sitting at breakfast with Ellen going over the board packet for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking about how busy you are.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now, but yes, so I'm sorry I didn't get that to you earlier, but yes, we have a board meeting tonight, so that was my other priority. Yeah, I sent you a preliminary spreadsheet that lays out all of the, at least the federal grant funding that we've talked about and the timelines for those. there are many steps, obviously with the federal grants, there's like certain dates that the applications are released. And then usually it's about 2 months after that the applications due, but we won't even be able to start. We can look at criteria, but we won't be able to start building on anything until it's out. And then usually there's a very long delay until you get notice, and then an even slightly longer delay until the project can start. So what I'd said in my email to you and Kristen was our funding subgroup needs to get together and kind of prioritize, kind of build our own internal calendar of what has to come first. Obviously, we need planning grants before we get to implementation grants and things like that, but kind of stack all of those. But the earliest deadlines for us would be this fall.
Mhm.
And then and then we could go for some of the bigger federal ones in spring and summer, but these grants come up once a year. So it rather depends on what our progress and timeline is looking like. And, you know, for grants we apply for next spring, project start dates aren't until the end of 25, early 26. So there's quite a long delay in those two. But I think next steps are for our funding subgroup to get together and prioritize within those grants. And then Christine, last time we had talked about the CAP grant planning, and you and I had trying to remember where we left our conversation, because we were looking at collections assessment
Yeah,
grants, which are only eligible to
museums.
museums.
Yeah, I was just looking for my notes.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody at IMLS.
Yes, and what,
He did confirm our assumption that partnerships and especially cross
mhm,
library museum partnerships are looked at very favorably.
great,
He did also confirm that as I think I've mentioned here, that IMLS looks for things that are copyable. So
Yeah.
anything we could do that would set up other cities for being able to do this kind of partnership is looked on very favorably.
yeah,
But I was trying to see, he told me about one of the grants, but I'm afraid it might have been a library grant. So let me
Okay.
just let you know when I figure that out.
that was where we hit our roadblock before, was to do the initial planning grant to get the scope of everyone's collection. All of us that are the private nonprofits can qualify for collections assistance, assessment, thank you. Collections assessment program, except the library and the city at large.
But that's-
And so we were looking at we were talking about how we would kind of mix and match those funding sources to start.
And I think given the CIP, that's perfectly fine.
That's
I think
fine,
it's
Yeah.
because
very
that's, I mean, I
reasonable.
think the CIP covers the city.
Yep.
Part of that.
Yeah, and so then the three other organizations could go together collectively for the CAP program, is what it's called.
And the
So,
fact that it's different segments of collections, meaning the library as well as the city, and the fact that it's hybrid, doesn't mean that we're disqualified from some grants. It just means that that section, would we have to come up with a percentage?
for a lot of the grants I was looking at through National Endowment for Humanities, National Endowment for the Arts, libraries are they're not excluded from that list, so that should be fine. And specifically 501c3s and local governments are included.
Perfect.
Where it gets a little bit trickier is with IMLS. There were like 2 grants that say, yes, it's local government, yes, it's 501c3, but it has to be a museum. And here's how we define museum. Now, the library might be able to squeak by on the definition of a museum in terms of holding a collection. And I forget, for one of them, it's like
Accessibility.
the collection has to be on view 120 days out of the year. But the rest of the city doesn't fall under that. So it's just, if we end up going for those grants that are specifically for museums, we'd have to figure out another avenue to bring the library in. But for all of these, to Christine's point, there are contacts for each of these grants. I think we go to them in advance and say, we have this really interesting collaborative project. If we were to submit, is this something you would fund? And then they can tell us, yes, we'll do the museum part, or yes, we'll do the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I think it's worth us reaching out to them, but at least for the initial preservation, which we need that planning, that grant, that kind of written report that they will have to go for other grants. we're gonna have to divide and conquer, but.
To Kristen's other question, if
Mm-hmm.
if there is a matching requirement, I think
Mhm.
our committee should look at whether the
Yep.
city can provide that, because
Yes,
that would be a valid use of the CIP funds as
Yeah.
well.
absolutely.
Museum grants, but we put
Yep.
in the 10% matching.
Yeah.
Do you want me to schedule that since you're?
Sure, yeah, I
Be
think,
overwhelmed.
yeah, I think the four of us should get together and dig in a little bit deeper on come up with our own internal calendar of what the grants would look like, then we can roll that into
Yeah, great.
the master.
And, the other thing, let's see, funding resources, legal framework, timeline. I have in here print materials. Do we need some other print materials? I guess is the question,
Besides the trifold.
besides the trifold and besides
what's on the website?
the whole document that's available online. That's a question.
I don't see a need at this point.
I don't either.
I
I
don't
think
either.
you want to wait until you have a plan for attacking local fundraising.
Well, I'm also thinking of the public outreach
Mhm.
piece of it too.
I think the trifold does a good job of them.
Yeah.
What do you mean by
Actually,
that?
in some ways, why do public outreach until you have a plan? And you can't get a
Mhm.
plan until you've got through some of these other steps.
Mhm.
That's true.
I agree with Richard.
But would the awareness help in the fundraising?
Probably, but what are you gonna promise? You can't. Until you have these things done, you can't really say, oh, yes, we're gonna do that.
So the fundraising at the moment to go into the fiscal pot at the
Mhm.
Athenaeum is gonna have to be
For the legal.
for the legal, but also a very, very tight constricted group of talking to, not fundraising. So-
Right,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, private entities.
Yeah.
Rich people.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, I think there would be some value in just kind of general outreach for continuing awareness or building awareness.
Mhm,
Not necessarily building a campaign yet,
mhm.
but just keeping the awareness out there that this project is going on, that we're moving it forward. Maybe updates along the way as we make progress.
I would agree with that, and I guess that was my sense, more like the idea of alerting other entities that have collections that this is in progress. And that it also just helps getting private funding too.
How do you see that working, Jeff, though? What's the manifestation?
Press releases, social media.
Maybe we get Sherry Wood to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about that this morning, actually. Yeah,
I think that's the way, where somebody's got a regular column,
yeah.
and it comes up, and you just want to keep it in front of the public.
Surrey Bank could do it in their newsletter as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the other thing about, all the other museums in town is most of their records are actually at the Athenaeum already.
Yeah,
And I think one of the ways of saying how broad we are is to take a look at that. Because that's
Yeah.
part of the stuff we need to preserve.
right.
and the Athenaeum is going to reach a point where they can't store anymore.
Right.
We already have.
You know, well, you know,
Good point. Years ago,
But has Sherry done that in the past? This sounds familiar, like
Sherry does a regular column,
about the other collections that we're holding.
no, about the Athenaeum.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she could do one on
Because
that
I bet a
topic.
lot of members of those entities don't know that their stuff is held by
Yeah.
is held
Yeah,
by the Athenaeum.
yeah. Yeah.
so maybe we can get Jim Splain to be part of us here. He seems to write a column for the paper every Sunday or something, you know. I don't know. He's kind of a loose cannon. And
You just did one on affordable housing.
yeah.
Good, keep him there.
I think it's worth making sure we talk to Stephanie for any important like updates if we end up getting some grant funding or things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Put that in city newsletter and make sure she's sharing it on social media too.
Yeah.
Well,
Is
there
that
is a city,
Mhm,
every week, there's a
every
city,
Monday? Yeah,
thing, and we should be in that.
yes. So is that something that like you would ask her directly, or could one of us?
I think.
Go
I
to
think
her to-
Christine and I should probably
Okay,
talk to her about that.
When we allocated the work groups of this committee, did we allocate a work group to outreach?
not yet.
Mm-mm.
You volunteering?
No, I'm just asking. Allocated.
Who's on it?
It's- You know what happens when you bring up. a
Yeah,
subject.
You're sharing it now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's. As you say, it's important, the outreach can go through the various organizations. And so I think that's the way it has to be. What we need to do is coordinate what is said.
Yeah.
And have it come out from the city, have it come out from each of the organizations. Not the exact same thing, perhaps, but same theme. Maybe we should talk about a theme for press releases or for
Mhm.
outreach.
Maybe that's part of the work we could do in these meetings as opposed to having a work group.
Mhm.
Off the hook.
Yeah,
For now.
well, so I mean, that feeds into this, and that what would be the first thing that we need to get out right now?
I think having Sherry write a article would be great.
Mhm.
Didn't Tom say he was gonna start looking
Did.
into writing another press release?
Yes.
At one of our last meetings?
Yeah,
He did say. So I think both of those, and I think if we could talk to Strawberry Bank about either sharing one of our articles or press releases in their newsletter. Or
Mhm.
writing their
Or
own.
adapting it to their.
Yeah.
Their own needs.
Maybe we can talk to Linnea this week about that.
Yeah.
They have ample opportunities to talk about their need within this group.
Mhm.
Yeah,
As
after
the
the,
cellars are flooding out,
Yes.
ceramics are
Mhm.
breaking down.
Right,
It's a critical issue, so I think
Mhm.
yeah.
tying it to the water issue is probably placed in Strawberry Banks.
Good point.
Whatever press releases we have, how to distinguish us, not buried inside of something else, but the mayor's within committee. With its own heading, not necessarily a logo, but it's something that would draw everyone's attention to the needs of this committee. And the objectives of this committee. moving forward. As opposed to just buried inside of a paragraph or something else
Mhm.
distinctly called out.
We don't have a logo, and I don't think we should get one right away, but there should be something that identifies it.
Right,
yeah,
that's exactly right.
well, I think we're gonna need a name and we're gonna need a logo.
Mhm.
Eventually, I understand that, but I think he's right, we've got to brand ourselves, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
branding. That's a hard one. For me, it is. I mean, there's people who do that seem to do it well.
If you have to have a logo, does that have to be approved by the city?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how much freedom do we have here?
Yeah.
So,
Monty's probably a good resource for this too.
Yeah.
For logo, yes, but for the overall branding of what we're trying to do, I think we have a lot of leeway.
Yeah, I think so
So
too.
what our goals and objectives are in a pithy way
Yes.
to let the
Mhm.
public know.
And when,
I think
when,
it comes back to, we need the legal piece up and running.
as well as the conversations with the grant, the
Mhm.
grants.
Right.
Chuck, do you remember how the branding worked out with the pool? Was that already branded?
Came up with it, the nonprofit that was running it came up with the logo, the branding.
Good.
Who did?
Very effective, like,
Chuck, who did that?
they part of the group.
Oh, the group did?
Well, there are people within the group that had skills.
Skills, yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
Were they constrained because of the city relationship?
No, they were completely separate. It was a completely separate nonprofit.
Mhm.
In fact, it wasn't exactly sure who the ally was, and it was not an ally within the city, so the bottom line was we knew where we were coming from, which was save the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we dealt with the city for a lease
Mhm.
from the city to us to run the pool,
Mm-hmm.
theoretically. And then the city ran the pool. They said it's complicated, but
Mhm.
bottom line is that we were a separate entity dealing with the city.
What name did you choose?
Save Indoor Portsmouth Pool with an acronym SIP, SIIP.
Mm.
I mean, SIPP, Save the Indoor Portsmouth Pool.
Yeah,
Mm.
it was great.
Yeah.
It really worked.
Something like that would be great.
Mhm.
Let's see, save Portsmouth Historic Records.
Boring.
And an acronym's not a bad thing.
Right.
I know.
Unless it all becomes an acronym. The shorthand, and nobody remembers what it stands for.
That's correct.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if they understand what it says for it, we had a swimming logo that went with it. So
Mhm.
Great.
Yeah,
To play on that, swimming was important as a word to identify. I think with us, the word historical is something that's important to include.
archival.
Mhm.
Archival, people are confused about that word
Mhm.
outside of this room.
I think you're right.
yeah,
History.
Understand what it means, yeah.
that's right. So we don't want drowning, you know.
That's right.
No, I agree. And I'm not sure what the word is.
Well, we can kick around the most important concepts and then
Mhm.
crack at it.
Well, think about it.
There's also the woman that we hired that had an association with Strawberry Bank that did our editing.
Mhm.
If we get to the point that we need to hire someone like that might be a good resource.
Mhm.
Not as a designer, but as a way to look at the big picture and
Yeah.
what the public would mostly gravitate towards.
Are you talking about Barb?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah, Barbara Quaid, right?
McLeod.
McLeod.
And maybe I'm talking out of school, but Ellen showed me a resume as part of your packet. The woman who had this beautifully laid out resume.
Oh, yeah, it was part of our prospectus for an exhibition, but yes.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I think also we have a full-time marketing manager, we have also someone that does in-house graphic design, that's our exhibitions and publications person who has that really nice resume.
It's
And then-
amazing. It's an amazing resume.
Yeah, very well designed. And I know Strawberry Bank has a full-time marketing person too. So I think, but even internally within our organizations, we can.
Yeah.
I can leave their creative minds to bounce around ideas, acronyms, logos, and let the professionals come up with what that is. But I'm happy to devote some of our staff resources to that, in terms of the marketing and like we've been talking about, happy to put things out in our newsletter on our social media. So I think as long as all of the organizations are willing to collaborate on that, that'll help in terms of the public outreach part too.
I think that Kristen raised a really good point. That if we had a professional coordinating this, and maybe we actually raise some money for that as well, in addition to the legal,
Mhm.
so that we've got a professional coordinating branding, communication, outreach. And that's not to say that we'll hire a professional to write all the content. That could come from the organizations, but just coordinating the strategy and executing.
Well, it's all part of identifying the entity, I guess.
Yeah.
Legal and image.
Back to branding.
Right, but what I'm saying is delegating it.
Yeah.
Outside this committee to a professional. Like
The
we did. with the
professional
edit.
could- Sorry. But theoretically, the professional could come from one of the entities that already is, have them on board.
Yeah,
And we might want to think about that right now, since she's offered. That Strawberry Bank and ask for the Athenaeum, if you've got people. I'm not gonna suggest.
I mean, I think you're right. I think obviously, right now with the acting as a fiscal agent for us, Athenaeum's using personnel
mhm,
to actually do that. I think the branding and outreach stuff of Emma's staff and the Strawberry Bank staff can contribute to that. It gives everybody a role
mhm.
within the first steps that we need to take.
It's a good organizing tool.
And Tom's a good writer. I think Tom's one of the best writers I've ever seen, you know.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But he's also busy.
Yeah, I know.
Nah,
He has his board to help him out.
Yeah.
Um. I have on the list report back on the symposium too. If we're done with that right now. You wanna?
I think I did that at the last meeting,
Yeah.
didn't I? Yeah,
I wondered if I had kind of,
happy to
Hold
talk
that
about
in.
it again, but I
Just
think
hold
I
it.
did, yeah.
no, I you know what I did is I copied the agenda, the whole thing, and then input new things in, but I guess
you
missed
also
that.
need to delete things when
Yeah,
you do
I-
that.
So I thought that was already done.
Vince, does anybody want to add anything? I've been answering Mr. Dumas' question up here, but I told him we don't currently have the trifolds at the library, but I will get some for us. But then he says Portsmouth Archive brand, would it be historical if the city is putting in current data? And I asked him to clarify, but I said, if you mean we add things like news and financials, then yes, I think it is because it becomes historic tomorrow. It's not. I don't know if that's what he means. Was the city looking to add non-historical land deeds? Those will be historical.
Those are.
Those are-
The definition of archival materials,
Yeah,
but the city doesn't hold deeds other than their own properties. The county does,
Yes,
and we're not going to serve the county. We have plenty of deeds at the Athenaeum that will come over and with this, but
but city records.
the city records will.
Yeah.
exactly. So all the city records of today are historic tomorrow.
But they don't have to come over into this
I see. He's saying,
outfit right away.
he's questioning it as, he's questioning archive as a part of the name.
Okay,
It's a good point, actually.
Mhm.
Very good.
Thank you.
I've seen other places do archives and history centers,
Mhm.
help clarify that, which also tends to be the museum function of an archive.
And the history centers get more visits, I bet.
Yeah,
yeah,
although, I mean,
history center is a kind of a nice
right, I mean, it
term,
says you've got a place to come,
yeah,
basically. I mean, the Athenaeum gets 3 times as many online research questions than they do for visitors.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm totally expecting that this would be, much the same.
Yeah.
yeah. Let's hope, you know,
Well,
I mean,
we
we
got
don't,
4 billion people out there
Yeah.
all on the internet looking for something. If you put something up, they'll come gobble it up.
Mhm.
the history center.
And it goes back to our goal of having a educational
Well, yeah,
aspect that sounds more educational than archive. It's
yeah, it's a good
I
point.
like the combo.
Well, food for thought.
That there would be a priority to come up with that self-definition.
Even if it's temporary, yeah. Even if it's something that's a work in progress.
We're sort of amorphous now. Let's kind of put some clarity in here. And tell us what we are. What we are.
Yeah, archive is a funny word. I mean, I don't think people understand it.
Except those who use them.
Yes,
So is it easier to say historical preservation and utilization?
No, that brings a whole different set of issues.
hmm,
Looking at buildings.
When we got the city, put in the city budget, what was the name used?
it's the name of the committee,
Hmm.
basically. Public-private, task force. Or archive. Task force or post.
Just proves the point.
It does.
It's a long name.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about the legal name, now that I think about it.
That's right. So, I mean,
It doesn't have
we
to
will
be
solve
that.
this problem when we have the legal structure.
Mhm.
That's kind of like backwards, you know, the legal structure is supposed to reflect what we're doing, we're not
Well-
supposed to, the legal people are not supposed to tell you what the structure is. But if that's the best we've got, then that's the best we've got, Jim. We talked to the committee.
I mean, think of the archives in Washington, it's just the National Archives.
Yeah.
Or the Portsmouth Archive, Portsmouth Historical Archives, seems.
What Sweden.
Well, I mean, historical is redundant.
Mhm.
Right, because we have to be clear for those that don't know what an archive is. That when we get
Oh,
the
yeah.
deer in the headlights look.
Yeah.
We try to describe what we're doing.
Yeah.
I would say 9 out of 10 people I talk to that are not in this industry have no clue what it is. Archive.
Is that like a catacomb?
Right. Is it a safe? A big safe?
Yeah, I think the public-private is an important piece of it.
As a subtext maybe, yeah.
Mhm. A public-private
Right.
partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll think about it.
Yeah, but when we come back next time, we ought to have something concrete that we should. Supposed to just make it vague. Let's come up with, give ourselves a date
Well-
certain to come up with some stuff.
Well, let's think about ideas. Can we do that for next meeting?
Proposed names or
Names and taglines, I don't know. Whatever.
So what concepts do we want to include in a name and what do we want to, well, because it's too complicated or goes to a different direction. Preservation is not good, historical is not good. Is it
Nobody said historical was not
No.
good.
No, I think historical
It's
is,
redundant.
redundant?
Mhm. With archive, it's redundant, but
Well,
yeah.
you know, some people think archive is just the,
One other way of looking at it is to think, if somebody showed up at this place that we're creating. Now, what is it they want?
Mhm.
Some are gonna want archival materials, either from the city or that.
So is it a
Some are just
research
going-
center?
Okay, so that's a question. Are you only a research center or also maybe you're a history center,
Mhm.
which has some actual programming?
Mhm.
Exhibits.
That's the question. It's really,
yeah,
how much are you doing public as opposed to,
And that goes back to the same question of, we don't want to compete with the organizations.
right?
Mhm.
So is it a place that the organizations can be programmatic. Rather than. And does that dilute what they're doing on their own sites?
Mhm.
Or is it a place that the organizations can collaborate?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or.
Still operate
they
on their own, but collaborate in that one space.
collaborate, or
Yeah.
there could be some permanent things at this new place.
Mhm.
For example, the remnants of the state house are sitting in a truck.
Mhm.
But there's an absolutely wonderful plan for an exhibit of those materials that was designed by some outfit up in upstate New York.
Yeah, don't
Oh.
talk to Jim Swain about that, please.
But it is a way of actually using the material correctly
Yeah,
for a change.
Yeah.
And I would hope put an end to the idiots who think that they want to restore a building that can't be restored on that basis.
Mhm.
And so if you want to send people somewhere to go see the old State House fragments, boom, you've got an exhibit that works for you.
Yeah.
Is there enough there to create a room like the Met does?
No, it's a different kind of, it's a more permanent exhibit, looking at the evidence and a lot of drawings. that sort of
Okay.
Stuff. And fact,
But that's a permanent exhibit.
but it could be.
Be part of the
exhibit, 'cause
identity.
it doesn't, it's smallish. It
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot of space,
Yeah.
but at least you'd have it back in town
Mhm.
where you can actually interpret it.
Mhm.
Still in
You
good enough
could-
condition.
sell a piece of the State House. To raise money.
Instead of a brick.
Well, considering who
joking.
the fans of the State House were, it was just about every lawyer in the state. So you figure out a way of getting the state's legal folks to kick into that. I think it would be a good contribution to the
for you.
effort.
So store cut stuff, research stuff, what else?
Education,
Education.
Programming.
programming, collaboration.
Collaborative program.
Yeah, I think, you know, the people who know how to do the actual interpreting of the stuff all belong to these other organizations.
Huh.
Yeah,
You know, whether it's the
Mhm.
library or Strawberry Bank or the
Yeah.
Athenaeum, Historical
yeah.
Society. You know, so if we're gonna do programming, which we could, I would love to see their staffs involved.
That's right.
Collaboratively. And that might just be starting out, doing one thing, one good thing a year.
Mhm.
Where all the organizations work together on something, and it takes 2 years to plan it, and then 1 year to
Yeah.
actually do it, and you keep going. To try to be a larger public program than that, I think, you need to wait about 5 years until people have started using the archives
Mhm.
and producing something new that's interesting.
You're getting more questions?
Well, I'm not. Should the archive be a service to the 5 primary organizations? The only way to get to the archive is via the 5 primary organizations, but I think the answer is,
Internet,
well, but it is the new entity that is the way to get to the archive.
yeah,
Partnership among all the organizations.
including.
But I don't know, to your point, Richard, if he's asking, are you talking about physically? Or because we have talked about the digital aspect
Right.
to this, but if you're talking about,
Well, depends an awful lot on when we get a building,
right,
where it is.
yeah, we need a building. Physical, there will be a building,
Mm.
yes. And we have not yet confirmed, other than to say that the organizations will have access to their collections, we have not confirmed who would be staffing
Right.
or any of the
Any of that, yeah.
details about the building, except that there is one.
Yeah.
Does that help? I would not be able to walk in from the street and see anything. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, that's something that we were kicking around about having.
And
research
that
on
will relate to
The fund.
where the building is.
Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
where it
If it's
is.
downtown, I think we're definitely open to the public. If it's out in the boonies or 3 towns over,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
then that's a totally different story.
That's right.
And then you use your partners
Mhm.
in this to bring stuff back into
Mhm.
town
Yeah,
through the museums and the library.
yeah. It needs to be accessible, or else it's kludgy.
And a lot of that's digital.
Yeah, that's true.
That, or I'd imagine, I mean, this facility is going to need to be staffed.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I would imagine it'd be something like Historic New England's Collections Facility or PBSX where there's a staff there and it's open by appointment only.
Right.
So if you want to come and do research,
Yep.
right, you can't walk in off the street between 9 and 5, but you can make an appointment to go Tuesday at 10 a.m. and they will have pulled some
Yes.
things for you.
Right.
And there may be occasional times where we are open to the public on a more broad basis, if we do decide to have more kind of exhibition space, rotating exhibition space.
Mm.
But I would imagine that while it may not be open to the public for regular hours, it's still accessible
Mhm.
in that way.
By appointments.
Yeah,
Okay.
and because there will have to be staff there to oversee
Right.
So how's the,
all of the millions of things that will be in this facility.
how's the state archive?
Same, I don't know if you can just walk into the state archive. Or if you have
used
to have
be
an
able to.
appointment.
I'm not quite sure what they're doing these days.
I was able to walk in.
Yeah.
In
Right.
2016.
I think a lot of people went to appointment only during COVID and
That's
people may have stayed that way because it's easier to manage. I know the times I've gone to both that archive and like even New Hampshire Historical Society, I've made appointments to go because they will also pull things for you. If you tell them that you're coming and say, I'm coming to look at this, they will say, great, we'll have those things ready and available to
And
you.
that
which I would think
actually
most,
reinforces the whole digital collections.
Yep.
Stuff is that once you have it digital and online,
Mhm.
people know that you have it.
Right. And so then they can make an appointment to come and see it in
Exactly.
person if they want. Yes,
The clearer you are on the internet,
yeah.
the easier it's going to be to manage.
Mhm.
And the more questions you answer on the internet, keeps people from having to come cross country to Portsmouth to
Yep.
see it.
Yes.
You just digitize the whole damn thing and just
Mhm.
send it to them.
Mhm.
Just a general question, for the Athenaeum as well as Portsmouth Historical Society. Do you have a traffic counter that you use that data for funding?
Traffic
Yeah.
for both online and in person. Or-
Yeah, in person as well, yeah.
Yeah, in person, I know for us, we have a foot traffic counter, so we count how many people come in the building.
Mhm.
And we use that number in all of our funding. And then online, it's really easy with analytics, and I'd imagine we'd have the same thing set up on our, whatever this joint website is, where you
Yeah.
can track where it's slightly terrifying the amount of information you can find about people, just who come to your website, but like find out where in the country they're searching from. So like we can even see on our website, where are the top 5 locations that people are coming to our website from in terms of geographic location?
Yep.
What are they looking at us on mobile or on desktop? Are they women or men? What's their
What's their search criteria as well?
how did they get to us? And if they're coming from a third-party site, which third-party sites are sending them? So are they getting to, if our archive has its own website, are they coming to us via the Athenaeum site, Strawberry Bank?
Yeah.
The city site? How are they getting to us? Or are they typing in a search for Portsmouth archives or Portsmouth history, and it's leading them directly to our
That's
site?
great.
So you can find out all that information and more from,
Oh, yeah.
from Google
Yeah,
Analytics.
she
Pretty-
does.
Please, Frank.
You
Yeah.
gotta
it's-
be careful of using the search term Portsmouth history, because that'll
Yeah.
bring them to your site. Absolutely.
Well, it depends on how you're ranked in Google search history and that you can influence. That's not, that's SEO, that's metadata, that's Google ad grants. There's the whole website of it we can dig into if we really want to. But yes, there's a way we count foot traffic. I don't know if you all do at the Athenaeum.
We do.
Yeah. I think most of us count foot traffic now. And then there's basically a way to count website online
Yeah.
foot traffic as well.
Mhm.
And we do that at the Athenaeum too.
Yep. I'm sure, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone's doing that data mining
Mm-hmm.
as. I guess, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it unless it's kind of nefarious. I can,
Yeah, it can be very useful.
but what else we have today?
What do we have committed to for next meeting? What are we gonna do for sure?
Well, we're gonna think about. Who we are and how to express it.
Right?
Psychiatrist couch.
I mean, is that fair?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I have for the next meeting, members are asked to present ideas for the archive name and subtext to possibly include research programming, education, collaboration, public/private.
And
I thought we can always use what the LAPD used to protect and serve.
But that's actually exactly the idea.
Archives and
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, that's not bad. And then, we will hopefully have more detail on the legal entity after Wednesday's meeting, which we can bring back
Yes,
to the
bring back.
next meeting. And, what else do we need for next meeting?
I think our sub-working group can meet before the next meeting, so we can have something to
Mhm.
talk about.
Which sub-meeting, which
Funding.
funding? And then also, there was another subgroup of, public outreach of the entities.
They need the branding and the,
Well, the
Everything
branding,
flows
but
from that.
also,
Yeah, right.
They really, like the legal things, then we'll give you structures that can happen, but we're not gonna come up with a name, we're not gonna come up with all that stuff.
right,
unless anyone wants to find money between now and then for the legal, that's okay.
That's true.
Do we have a special fund? Go into a,
We're still searching.
okay. So I know I was told we've done it in the past as fiscal agent, but I don't know what,
Oh, do we have a special fund to be the fiscal agent?
right,
Yeah, we just have a code in the budget.
but if I want to send money.
If
who
you
do
wanna
I- What do I say it's for?
Yeah, that's good. That's why having a name would be useful. Of
That's right,
At least a working name.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
course. Right,
well, for a temporary name, if people are ready to send money, just,
Portsmouth Archives.
yeah, or Portsmouth Public-Private Archive, how about a PPPA?
If you're writing a check, long
Right.
four-word names don't fit on a check.
Yeah, okay,
I want a 1 or 2 word name.
But the
But
check
I
is
can-
gonna be to the Athenaeum.
Right.
Right.
I'm just saying, when I go into my gift fund and I say, please send money to the Athenaeum, I'm
Mhm.
not sending it to the annual fund.
Right.
I'm
correct.
Sending it to
The Archives
Portsmouth
Project.
Historic Archives Project or something.
Mhm.
So no, to your question, we don't have a specific code set for that yet.
By next time, we should have that.
Okay, we will.
and if someone wants to donate
And
to
we
it,
will simply call it Portsmouth Archive for now.
I think so.
Okay.
Just 2 words, PA.
Yeah.
That's for that, okay.
Portsmouth
Send them all to
Archive.
Pennsylvania. Go on.
Well, this is a place to begin.
Mhm.
if somebody makes out a check to Portsmouth Archive, it's depositable as
No, I think,
Portsmouth Archive?
I think.
No,
Portsmouth
Portsmouth
and
Has to be the
And then
FMA
the
and
memo line.
Archives in the
Okay.
line.
For
Yeah.
Memo line.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do it today.
Whoever's
I will,
doing
if the
the
money will go the right place.
the fundraising stuff, I think. um, Whatever subgroup that is, needs to go talk to the New Hampshire Charitable Fund. To explain what we're doing. Because several of the people who you normally ask for money have all their money there that they're gonna give you. So we could start writing proposals to individuals. Money at the New Hampshire Charitable Fund, but you want them to understand what we're
Yeah,
working. on. So some connection at some point
Yep.
seems to me useful and
and is this adequate to do that?
yeah, I think that would get you a lunch or, invitation to come talk,
Mhm.
which is, I think, what you want.
Okay.
Because they like to pick whose money they steal.
How many of those do you have, Vince?
I have about 20 of them. I just bought for myself. I paid for it myself, so for me to use.
Oh, well, it's in, I can send it to you.
But
Yeah.
I'll give you some if you want.
That I can bring over to the legal meeting. right?
Yes,
Yeah, send
I'll
you
bring it.
PDF.
Oh, here.
the one short version of what we're
I
doing.
got something this morning saying the order.
So besides you, who else is gonna be at the
You probably
table?
have copies for the committee.
So if something's ordered
I'll
today,
bring them.
it's gonna. go
Thank
to-
you.
Yeah.
You already have one?
Forward you also.
I have one, yeah.
Username,
Yep.
because I gave, it's the username and password. They
Alan,
came back, oh,
Your
okay.
question? It's Chuck, Vince, myself, Linnea. And city
Trevor.
attorney.
City attorney.
Trevor and Deputy City Manager is part of that too.
Oh, okay. Will she be there?
Suzanne, she's,
She'll be there.
yeah,
Another lawyer, sure.
Yeah.
well,
So Jeff, what's the
That's good.
expectation?
yeah, she's good. She's,
I like her.
What's
she
your
is
expectation from
very sharp.
This
Oh,
one
yeah.
meeting.
I hope you're listening.
Well, the last meeting we had, Trevor was gonna do some research into, looking at who we might hire as a consultant.
Good.
To actually. do the
Actually
work.
create the
The
entity.
The entity of the documents.
Good.
So we're looking for an update on that. Moving forward.
And I'm glad Strawberry Bank will be there
Yeah.
because that was. I didn't feel like we could even move forward without them.
No.
Yes.
This is how Renee spells her first name.
So the question is, are we making enough progress meeting to meeting, or is it, we getting, feels like we're slowly moving?
Yeah,
Think we
I
should
mean,
Maybe pick up the pace a little. bit.
I think. Where we're at is a difficult. Period.
Mhm.
Compared to last year. Where we had a very specific, thing that we could control ourselves. By creating a report. This is very different. This is dependent on. You know. Entities that are kind of beyond just this group. The first is the lawyers. The next are the boards of the institutions.
Mhm.
The following that are the general public and the people who are giving us money, those are all. Not under our control. As it was last year, so it feels to me like, we're not making progress, but I think we are. I think there's going to be a different sense of progress. A harder progress. And still recognizing that it's a long progress. just the grant cycles, you know. Yeah. So,
And we had also talked about, at our last legal entity meeting, targeting potential properties as well.
Yep.
So that will probably come back up.
Yeah.
At this meeting. City properties specifically.
Not at your meeting on Wednesday, though.
The entity could be dependent upon where we are.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh, whether it's private land or city owned land.
Big deal.
yeah,
We probably won't know, which makes it even more interesting.
that's right. Probably won't know.
Not for the first couple of years,
That's right.
because you want the analysis of each of the institutions' collections.
Right.
Right? And what various conditions they have to live in, and all that sort of stuff, how much space is that gonna take? You won't know the answer to any of those questions until that's done. Then
Right.
you go looking for a space. Maybe.
Anything else? All right.
Move adjournment?
Well, no, we want to ask for public comment.
Okay.
And is George still?
He's still there. Do you have?
George, do you have anything to say?
Hey. Thank you
Thank-
for
thanks.
attending.
Thank you, George.
Right, stop.
Motion to adjourn.
so.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Um,
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.